Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome back to round two of the TCUK 2024 series here at the VCO. My name is Chris Paxton. I'll be one of your commentators throughout tonight's festivities. As you can see on screen, we head to Northamptonshire for Silverstone, a wonderful, wonderful circuit. Right, myself was out over the weekend. We had an international layout, so really perfectly suited to these great touring cars. Now, joining me in the commentary box, this time slight change to the commentary lineup. I have the magnificent Scottish wonder himself, John Monroe. Welcome back, John. Great to be alongside you once again.
Good evening, Chris. Yeah, great to be here for my first time in the comms box, actually, for TCUK. I've raced in this series for a couple of seasons, and I know how exciting the racing can be from a driver's perspective, so really, really looking forward to seeing how it looks from the booth. And yeah, it's great to be here. Hope you're doing well as well, Chris.
I absolutely am. I love this series. I make no apologies for it. So I am very much looking forward to seeing whether Gianmarco Fiducci can continue to lead the way up front, or will he be challenged by the raft of competitors all alongside. So you see in the background we have got a bit of practice going on. Qualifying should be at least drawing to a close. So we should hopefully be able to bring you some grid updates before too long. Ryan Gill in command of the sound and broadcasting. So glad to have him alongside us once again. So there are a few drivers that are listed as absent this time. That being said, we still have plenty of people to talk about this time around. So as we usually, I'll talk about the calendar as we've got that in front of us. So it's Brands was where we opened up. We did try and open up the series in Donington Park 2 weeks before that. Sadly, due to server issues, we had to abandon that one. So Brands Hatch saw the opening round of this series as we head all the way across the country. We will be back at Silverstone back in mid-October for the national layout. So that 6 quarters it may be, but it is a lot of fun nonetheless. Some wonderful circuits that please host some incredible touring car racing in its real life, guys. Any particular rank catch you're right there, John, from either drivers or spectator standpoint?
I mean, I always love Thruxton, high speed, lots of areas where you're just right on the limit of the car, and it's always making a big mistake. Hack racing's great there, so always a standout for me, Thruxton. Oulton Park's a fun one to drive as well. The Donington Park, yeah, you go through the list and there's not many bad ones there, but I don't necessarily love Silverstone National on a personal level, but other than that, it's looking really, really good. So Snetterton 300 as well, a bit more technical one in the middle of the season, but it's the usual stuff, really, isn't it? We talked about a British touring car themed championship like the TCUK is. You get all the classic British circuits that we go to. Shame to see Knockhill not on the calendar this year. It's been a staple of the series since day one, but things move on, and we've got a cracking lineup nonetheless.
Absolutely. So Knockhill, a superb circuit. I've never been there myself in its real life, guys. I have been to many a virtual lap at the wonderful Knockhill. So for those that have yet to join us, these are lines where there's simply too many for us to go through. But as you can see, the full range of TCUK cars that are currently available with the BMW. We have the Cupra Leon, we have the Honda Civic Type R, we also have the Astra, not too many of those, but still represented for the Ford Focus ST, and also one lone Toyota Corolla GR Sport represented on this grid, and an array of highly talented drivers. Top to bottom, these are some brilliant drivers, and drivers you'll know well from a trackside standpoint, I dare say, John.
Yeah, plenty of familiar faces in there from the world of real racing and sim racing, of course. You've got the likes of Dan Kyle, former champion, was my teammate when we took the team's championship for Zamsho a few years ago, and a former driver's champion as well. Obviously, a good friend of mine, Ross McGregor, running independently this year, and then you've got the Richards & Co racing lineup. O'Leary, Cripps, and Callum Wilson. That is extraordinarily strong, although I do believe that Matt Richards is going to be filling in as a sub tonight for that team, and he's definitely going to be one to watch. You will have the kind of race one ballast that you get as a substitute driver, but Matt Richards will be right at the top for sure. Scott Solvik's been around the block. He's been sim racing for well over a decade too, and then obviously Gianmarco Fiducci, one of the highlights there for Veloci Esports. That is someone with lots of experience at the highest level of our Factor 2 competition, racing in the likes of Formula Pro, GT Challenge, all of these things, and with remarkable success as well, formerly, of course, with Fordzilla. So Fiducci, one to watch for sure, dominated the opening round at Brands Hatch last time. We'll be looking to continue his momentum. But we've got some other wild cards in there as well. You know, the likes of Ty Cupper, I'm noticing there for Quartermass Racing. Good to see some young talent coming through and taking part in the series. Ben Pennyworth around there as well. We've got McCready returning for another season. Jack London impressed in his debut last year. And then I believe tonight as well, not on this list potentially, but we've also got Paul Crawford, head of esports at MSUK. So that's going to be great to see. He's a fantastic sim racer in his own right. It's been a long time since I've seen him on the grid, but I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how he gets on tonight.
Yeah, it's great to see some less familiar names really kind of mix it with the establishment. That's what I love to see. I love to see. Working to get those resolved. We will be getting underway as soon as we can here. No, we're not at Snetterton. Yes, we know that one. We are indeed in Northamptonshire. We will be heading to Norfolk's finest during the course of the season, but we are not there just yet. So another thing to bear in mind, and this I must admit, this kept catching me out last time out at Brands and also at Donington Park, is tyre allocations. So during the course of these 3 races that we have, the drivers can opt to, or have nominated which race they have their option tyres, so the softer compound tyre available to them. They can only have the option tyre once in the course of the 3 races, so they can't run them twice, or they can't run them for all 3 races. They can only run them once. So whether they run them in race 1, race 2, or race 3, entirely up to them. So we will see how this pans out. So let us see. Now, last time out at Brands Hatch, it was mainly the second race where we saw the biggest percentage of option tyres run. I'm looking at the tyre allocation this time. Looks actually fairly even across the 3, so that should prove interesting as well. So looking forward to seeing how our competitors do.
Yeah, I think tyre allocations, Chris, are always a really interesting one. As a driver, you know, I'm always thinking before the round, where am I going to be strong, and where is the softer tyre actually going to come into play and benefit me, you know? I don't think it's always best to use the soft tyre in race 2, because you're essentially giving yourself an advantage in that race, only to then have a reverse grid to suffer from in the 3rd race. But maybe you're far back on the field after race 1, and you're using the soft tyre just to get yourself into the mix for the reverse grid. So there's a really big psychological element there. I like to start strong, go in the soft in race 1, especially if I don't have much weight on the car, if I'm doing badly in the championship, which inevitably I would be, and then that would help me get a great result in race 1. I'll then take the hit in race 2 with the heavier car, drop down the grid, and then hopefully get a reverse grid pole or something for race 3. Or you just save the best till last, get the option on in race 3, and then you get the fastest run right at the end. So there's really, really interesting tactical elements to play. Of course, weight makes a massive difference as well. It's a case of, you know, do you commit to the faster tyre when your car's heavier to balance it out, or do you commit to the faster car when you think your car is going to be lighter, and then you go all out for a victory? So many fascinating elements, and as you can see, we have now made the journey over from Norfolk back to Northamptonshire and the Silverstone circuit. It looks like we're getting ready to go very, very soon.
Yes, very much looking forward to this. Yes, that's a broken record statement, and I don't apologise for making it. And look who's on the front once again. It is Gianmarco Fiducci in that very distinct Veloci livery, but a great mixture of cars behind it. Was mainly the BMWs, if memory serves, that did well last time out. So they should be forming for a standing start. So that's why they haven't formed the 2x2 line earlier than they need to. They are indeed forming on the grid for the first of our 3 races tonight. So qualifying has decided the grid for race number 1, and then it is a randomized element of reverse grid for race number 3, and it is the finishing results for race number 2. But we'll go through that in greater depth very shortly. So then, let us get underway very, very shortly. We'll get the lights on and get race number 1 all ready to roll as soon as The engine revs rise, the nerves and adrenaline, well, maybe adrenaline, these guys don't know nerves. And we're away for the first time tonight here in Silverstone. It looks like a fairly decent start. My God, that's a good start. That's a fairly decent start, I'd say. Gianmarco Fiduci already being challenged quite heavily. Is he down to third where he was being challenged for that second place spot? Wow, you don't see that very often. A slightly missed start there from Gianmarco Fiduci. He's been hustled hard as they're coming through the loop for the first, through Village into the loop and now through that cut through section into Hangar Straight for the first time. Fiduci just about hanging on to that top spot. But what an excellent start for the RSR BMWs. Oh, that's a very explorative route for one of the quarter miles cars towards the back. As someone's had a bit of a rough start towards the back. We'll have the tower coming up very shortly to confirm who is where. But look at that, that's the 14 car. That's Phil Morby. That is, Phil Morby standing, but I think I saw in chat that Phil Morby is in Belgium. So, fair play to you, Phil Morby. You're doing well, not even being here. That's Matt Richards that is taking over the 14 car. But look at that. Well, Fiduci has had the rule of the roost so far this season. Looks like he's got some work to. I wondered if it was Dan Herlock, the number one car that's taken the top spot. Look at Richards inside line coming up towards Abbey, and he's got him. He's got Fiduci. My goodness me. Well, the Veloci 8 is going to have some work to do tonight, and that's Chris Shepherd right behind, almost getting into the back of the Veloci Star. Well, now that is not what I expected to see. It's game on.
It certainly is. I'm not surprised at Herlock, though, taking the lead off the start. This is a man with a lot of experience, spent a year in the front-wheel drive Honda, doing very well, and then moved to the BMW, and he was just absolutely incredible last season in that car, and thoroughly deserving of his championship victory. So it's good to see him continuing that form, although it looks like Matt Richards, he's got ballast on, but not as much as the guys at the top of the championship, and it's showing because Matt takes the lead. And it's basically as you were in terms of the battling in this championship. You've got Richards versus Herlock, something we've seen so many times over the years in TCUK. And then Gianmarco Fiduci, the new man on the block, the man with all of the pace, all the excitement bringing to this grid, sitting there in third place. But he will have to deal with that ballast, of course, Chris. So it's going to be costing him a bit of lap time, and he's going to be hanging on here. Chris Shepherd looking racy as well. Dan Kyle in fifth. I saw him just the other day actually at Donington Park, and he's in really good form at the moment, looking to carry that over to this race weekend here in P5.
How long before Richards win this race? We will have to see. Ed in Millward, a very excellent commentator and YouTube star. Great to see you in chat, good sir. So the top four then starting to break away. Richards from Herlock, from Fiduci, from Shepherd. Now Chris Shepherd is on the softer tyres, so he does have a bit of tyre advantage. Needs to get on with it though. What we've seen in the last couple of races, again, I know the championship's only been running technically for one of them, but we did have some racing at Donington Park. Was it those option tyres do not last until the end of the race? Oh, that's trouble and towards the back of the field. Who's that that's gone for a big spin? We will get confirmation. Oh no, that's not what you want to see. The Honda falling down through the field. So Richards then is breaking away well is Chris Shepherd. He's already got Fiduci, but Fiduci's having to go back as they come into Vale. Almost contact between the two. There is contact between the two. They keep pointing the right way, but Gianmarco Fiduci doing what he can to try and hang on to that ballast really taking its toll because he ran off into the distance and was not seen again in the first couple of races. He's really seemingly needs to get on term with his car being a little bit heavier on this time around.
Yeah, Shepherd's, he's not carrying too much weight. He didn't have the best time at Brands Hatch, but him on the soft tyre looking very, very competitive indeed. So watch out for Chris Shepherd. We know how quick he is, and he will definitely be challenging Herlock and Richards soon. There we have Dan Herlock's teammate Ryan Elliott for the other RSR BMW, sitting in P8 currently behind Cito Weyer for Brabham Esports in the Corolla. And then you've got Callum Wilson in there in ninth ahead of his teammate Callum Cripps, rounding out the top 10. So fairly in line, it has to be said, looking down the grid now. It was a bit crazy for those first few laps. Obviously, we saw the unfortunate Richardson getting spun around basically on the back straight. Not sure who moved into who to cause that spin, but obviously if you get tapped in the rears, you see there, beautiful slide from Wilson in the BMW. He's now under pressure from teammate Callum Cripps. But yeah, other than the incident we saw on the straight there, it's been fairly clean. We'll see how long that lasts for. A lot of rear-wheel drive cars towards the front of this field, so obviously Richards kind of stopping that trend by taking the lead here, but you do have a lot of other rear-wheel drive cars in the mix. As you can see here, the battle resuming for P2. Shepherd, as expected, right on the back of Herlock, I think Shepherd's going to be going for the win here. This is his chance on the option tyre. He's not got a huge amount of ballast. Neither does Matt Richards, but Matt's not on the soft tyre. So Shepherd is going to want to make this move early. And Vyer's been punted a little bit into the corner, but he got it stopped. And it actually almost turned into an overtake. I think the contact from behind there, Chris, almost gained him a position.
Well, Tom O'Leary, I think, would have been a little bit alarmed there, because suddenly that green Toyota was very, very prominent in his mirrors, and not entirely by Cedar Vyer's design. Side by side as Shepherd is going for the overtake. Wow, that was a robust defence there from Tom O'Leary, trying to defend against the Toyota. Is he going to go around the outside of Stowe? Not likely. Doesn't get alongside. Does he cut back underneath? Beautiful. He does. He wrong foots the BMW. Brilliantly done. And climbs up a position. That's Cedar Vire up into 6th position. Then it's an army of BMWs all jostling for positions side by side as they come down towards Club once again. So they have managed to get their own bit of real estate on this occasion, but you know full well with any kind of touring car racing, it's not going to stay that way for long.
You've got 3 Richards & Co cars all next to each other with Ryan Elliott in the middle in the RSR BMW. So, yeah, things are definitely going to kick off there, because that is a lot of very feisty, very quick drivers in a row, and they'll be looking to make progress here up the grid. Obviously, Cedo doing well to hold on to that position for the moment. We head back to the front battle, though, and here you can see Shepherd all over the back of Richards. So he's only 3/10 off now. He's dealt with Herlock. He'll leave him to Gianmarco Fiducci behind. It's now the charge on for the race lead here, it has to be said, for Chris. So you've got the battle of Wales versus England, Shepherd versus Richards, and it's Cupra versus Infinity as Shepherd pulls out of the slipstream there. He's within 3/10 and he's got plenty of time to get this done. Of course, the deficit will kind of decrease slightly as the race goes on, because the soft tyre will wear faster than the medium, but I do expect Shepherd to have a pace advantage throughout this entire race. So let's see what Matt Richards can do on the defence in his front-wheel drive car, because he's a couple of seasons now of racing rear-wheel drive. This is the first time I've seen him in this championship in a front-wheel drive car, so let's see how he deals with this pressure.
Oh, and already again. So, yeah, Shepherd just not waiting any time, trying to keep that pressure on. You see Fiducci as well, having a go at Dan Herlock, thinking about an inside manoeuvre coming into Abbey, decides to not go for it, as that gap between that top 4 and Dan Cal in the lead of the Fords is continuing to grow. That's a big slide there from Shepherd, but he's managed to get the car rotated, but cannot just get the traction just when he needs it. He's trying to wrong foot Matt Richards. A bit of rubbing going on between them. My goodness me, now is this an opportunity for Shepherd? Did he manage to get, disrupt the momentum from Richards? Are they side by side? They are. So Shepherd with the inside line coming into Stowe. There's nothing Richards can do about it. He's going to have to concede it. But all he needs, all he needs to do, like it's easy to stay on the back of someone as quick as Chris Shepherd. Oh, he's having a go already. He's trying to do the up and under. So he's got the inside for Stowe. He's going to have the outside line for the beginning part of Club. Oh, he just nosed ahead, and he's going to hold on to that inside line, so Shepherd's going to have to work for this. He hasn't got the inside line. Matt Richards back up into the lead before the conclusion of the lap. My goodness me. Oh, door banging going on. Oh, it's 2 by 2 now as Fiducci has a go. It's Dan Herlock coming down towards Abbey once again. There's still, make up your minds, gentlemen, who's ahead of who? They're banging around as touring cars do. Now Richards with the inside line coming up into Abbey. Fiducci thinks about an outside manoeuvre. Dan Herlock gets the inside line again, but just loses the traction out of that and crucial time. But Richards still in the lead. Oh no! He's made a mistake, or he was helped into a mistake. We couldn't quite see from that angle. But Richards is relieved of the lead and out of the podium spots. That is a shame. You never want to see it, but he's kept his foot in it and kept on going. And he's now down almost outside of the top 10.
And breathe. Sensational stuff there, wasn't it? I mean, Shepherd and Richards side by side for more than half a lap. Excellent stuff. Obviously, it didn't end well for Richards there. I don't know if there was a touch or not. As you say, it looked pretty close, but it could have been one of those situations where Richards just had a bit of a wobble, had to lift out, and Shepherd just tapped the back of his car. We'll need to see a replay to know what happened there. And whilst all of that was going on, Fiducci and Herlock were side by side for just about as long. I think Shepherd's now got it. If he can get his foot down, we know that Shepherd's one-lap pace is just as good as any other driver in the field. It's sometimes it's consistency that stops him winning quite as many races or championships as the likes of Herlock. But Shepherd's on the soft tyre. If he can just get that gap, he should be comfortable in this race. Fiducci's not going to let him run away, though, if he can avoid it. He's going to have to keep one eye on his mirror, of course, because Herlock will not be moving anytime soon, carrying less weight again, of course, than the Veloce driver. But we're really going to see what Shepherd's mettle is here. Can he extend that lead and pull away? Because, of course, he's got no slipstream anymore, and Fiducci, as you say, is going to do his best to hold on to the back of him. They'll be using push to pass as well.
Yes, indeed they will. So as they come screaming down, they hang it straight once again towards Stowe. Yeah, not any particular defensive moves going on. You see Dan Herlock just staying right in the tyre tracks of Gianmarco Fiduci. So at the moment, it's infinity from Beamer, your top three. Is that gap between the Ford of Dan Kell and the BMW Dan Herlock coming down? It doesn't look as big as the tower would indicate. Oh, a big clout to the apex for Dan Herlock, but he does keep the RSI BMW facing the right way. Gianmarco Fiduci now on the back of Chris Shepherd, forcing the Infinity to have to defend as they come up towards Abbey once again. Gianmarco Fiduci can't find a way through just yet, but he is not done at all. Has Chris Shepherd burnt the best out of those option tyres? We will have to see, but he doesn't look like he's able to break away at the moment. Slipstream, of course, in full effect. That gap between Herlock and Kell is continuing to grow. So now the top three continuing to do their breakaway drive. But Fiduci, how does he do it? Every single time. The car a bit heavier than the rest and still able to nail himself to the tyre tracks of Chris Shepherd.
Yeah, he gets such good drive off the corners, does Fiduci. I mean, if I'm Fiduci right now, I'm using the push to pass just to keep myself in the slipstream. So if I ever drop before, above 4/10 behind, for example, I use the push to pass to bring myself back in. And if I'm Chris Shepherd, I'm actually saving the push to pass whenever I have 4/10 or 5/10 of a gap so that I've got enough power to defend myself later on. So it's all tactical battles going on here. But you can see Shepherd and Fiduci are side by side for the lead, looking at the tower. And I think Fiduci may have just taken the lead. Shepherd's going to hold on around the outside. A little bit of contact on the exit, but Shepherd gets the drive off the corner. Now look at Herlock. He's right over the back of Fiduci. He's going to pull to the inside. Can he get an overlap? Fiduci defends towards the middle, but it's Shepherd who leads then just. So Fiduci had a right good go there into the club chicane. Herlock a bit of grass cutting as well. He's going to look to the outside now, which becomes the inside into the hairpin. But it is as you were for the moment. Shepherd locks up one of the inside tyres, but it's still Shepherd, Fiduci, Herlock, and Kell will be licking his lips watching this battle up ahead.
Absolutely. I'm sure he'd want to be in it. Is right behind them. Was that Elliott that was getting past Cedar? Yes, the Brabham Esports Toyota has just been knocked down into 6th position. Then a good move from Ross Elliott there. As the whole field, it looks like, comes screaming their way down towards Stowe. Was that a bit of a lockup there from Shepherd? I wonder. Has the best of those tyres completely gone? We will have to wait and see. Oh, a bit more dust being kicked up. Fiduci again thinking about an inside manoeuvre coming up into the club. Doesn't commit to it. Oh, that's somewhat exuberant driving from the BMW. Oh, no, that's trouble. That's Cedo Fire. He's caught up with one of the RSR BMWs. Oh, no. Who's that he's caught up with?
Ryan Elliott, I believe that they had contact at the chicane by the looks of it, and they've both dropped down now. Ryan Elliott 10th and Vire in 11th.
Oh, that's such a shame. Cedo Fire was really showing strong. He struggled a bit in Brands, but he was showing really good pace here. But there's still 2 more races to enjoy later on tonight, so hopefully he can kind of collect himself and get back into the saddle. But Gianmarco Fiduci just still all over the back of Chris Shepherd. Then Chris looked like he understood a little bit, but Fiduci just does a bit of lawn mowing, kicks up a bit of dust on the exit of that cut-throughs from the loop. So again, that's just cost him that tiny bit of momentum, and that's thrown him back into the clutches of Dan Herlock. When the pace is this close, when the drivers are this talented, any tiny mistake like that can be the difference between gaining and losing a position.
You're absolutely right. I mean, these guys are at the top of their game. You know, the likes of Fiduci, even Cedo Vire we saw there fighting outside the fringes of the top 5. These are top-level, world-class R-Factor 2 drivers that compete at the highest level. So this is a really, really strong field. We always see it in TCUK, but you're watching the best touring car drivers on the planet fighting out here today, and it's just great to see. I love the way they're just throwing the car around, playing with the rear end of the BMWs, especially the rear-wheel drive cars, providing so much enjoyment to watch. And the guys in the front-wheel drive as well are having to work so hard just to keep their car in check. Of course, all of these setups are really on the edge, and you saw there a bit of a lock-up from Herlock in the BMW. That just shows how hard they're pushing. Fiduci last lap through here, actually, Chris, it looked like he was getting to get an amazing exit, but obviously just lost the rear on the exit, dipped a toe in the grass, and it cost him big time. But he has managed to claw that gap back to around about 4/10. Will the push to pass be helping? It looks like Shepherd's on the push to pass now, but judging by the gap, it's now up to 6/10, 7/10 by the end of the straight, and Herlock remains right in behind Fiduci. Kell dropping back a little bit. Cripps nowhere to be seen with O'Leary 6th, but saying that, I mean, Cripps, O'Leary and Wilson have gained positions throughout this race, so even though they're a bit off the lead battle, they've just been slowly picking their way through. Obviously, have dispatched of Elliott and Vire now, who had contact earlier, and Matt Richards recovered well to P8 after his incident earlier as well.
Jack London now is going to have his mirrors absolutely full of RSR BMW as they're working their way through Club, through Vale, not on that order, something could be wrong if they did it in that order, exactly. 5 laps to go. As always, these races just absolutely fly by with so much action going on from such amazing grids. As packed and as talented as we are seeing here as we watch Cedar Via then still finding off the advances of Willis now. They're coming into Abbey once again. And that Revo, the Revo number, well, I was going to say 39, but that's not Brewster, is it? That's Willis, who is 85, beg your pardon, the Drake Racing Cupra, doing what he can to hustle hard. Oh, that's Fiducci again at the bottom of the shot, thinking about a move on Shepherd, but Shepherd just knows exactly where to park his car to keep the charging Italian behind him. They come towards Vale once again. Dan Herlock's fallen a little bit off the back of the lead two, or he's just backing off and letting them fight a little bit more to the death. I mean, Gianmarco Fiducci is just nailed to the back of that leading Affinity. He's not letting him, he's not giving him any quarter. I mean, Dan Kell is in a great battle, exactly as you were saying, John, with Cripps and O'Leary, and with Callum Wilson not too far behind. That's all a battle for fourth.
Yeah, the Richards and Co train making its way up and looking to make its way further now. Dan Kell, the next victim. These guys have raced together before. They are teammates as well, despite not being in the same outfit in this particular championship. Now you can see, though, Fiducci right on the back, keeping the pressure on Shepherd, and the class is showing from Gianmarco. I mean, it's considering that Shepherd's on the softer tyre here, obviously there is degradation, but I cannot explain to you how difficult this is for Fiducci with a car that heavy and with the harder tyres to be keeping up. It's mighty, mighty impressive. But Shepherd also doing a great job at the moment to hold on to that lead. Tell you, though, here is the pressure you can see, and it's Cripps putting Dan Kell in the Ford under all sorts, cutting him now into Stowe. And you can see the front-wheel drive Ford just understeering slightly, and Cripps is able to carry the momentum. Will he look down the inside? He's flashing his lights, heads to the outside, does Cripps. Let's see what happens under braking. Kell turns in. Cripps has got the overlap, though. He's going to go all the way around the outside. Dan Kell actually lost the rear a little bit. There's a bit of contact as well. That tell you what, Cripps lost the rear on the exit, and that's allowed Kell back through. But watch out for Thomas O'Leary. No. He's going to come down the inside as well. Obviously, the Richards and Co cars are going to do their best to get the best outcome for both drivers, but Kell slots into between them there. Great stuff from all of these guys. I'm mincing my words. They're just trying to keep up with this. It's frantic action as they now head into the hairpin. Kell's going to defend the inside line. He's got it covered, and he's going to settle now down and block Thomas O'Leary, allowing Cripps to just escape a little bit. There's no more positions to be gained here for Cripps unless there's mistakes up ahead, so he will just try and romp away to a P4, and Kell is under pressure here. Could well drop another couple of positions before the end of this race.
How close was that? That was incredible. Between Tom O'Leary and Dan Kell, there was pixels in it between the front of the BMW and the back of Dan Kell in the Ford. That was so close. But with 2 and a little bit laps left, it is Shepherd from Fiducci and Herlock. So there's now 1.4 seconds between Fiducci and Herlock. Now the RSR BMW just falling away a little bit as we now watch. That's Callum Cripps just bouncing over the apex. A little bit now coming through Club and then through to complete the lap. But these top three are still absolutely furious. Well, certainly now the top two, as Dan Herlock just falling away now. Is Dan on the softer tyres? No, he's not. So he's just overcooked his prime tyres a little bit too much, trying to keep up with the furious pace of the two ahead. So Fiducci still in the mirrors of Shepherd. Shepherd no longer with that tyre advantage. The option tyres will have used their best by now. Is this an opportunity then for the Italian to have a go? We'll catch up with that in a little bit further down the field then. We've got, oh, that's close. That's very, very close. And then, so Shepherd had to go defensive, but he got all kinds of out of shape on the braking zone coming into Stowe. Now, can he do anything about it with the exit? As Fiduci's run a tiny bit wide. That's costing that valuable bit of momentum. Shepherd's still in there. Lock up from Fiduci as well. So both of them really hustling hard. Surely this is advantage Shepherd to get back up into the lead. Oh, a bit of a hip check from Shepherd on Fiduci. The Veloci driver has to concede back into second. These two are not done yet. One more lap to go.
This is proper touring car racing right now. Two of the best at it, and it's been a great battle. Lots of aggression, but all the right side of the line, you have to be said. So yeah, great stuff going on. We did see Ryan Elliott dropping back there. Sector 3, the last lap, had a bit of an issue. We also saw Mitch Marie retire too, so some incidents further down the field. But Fiduci's going to have one or two more chances here, Chris. I think he's not going to go for it down the inside here. He's going to try and get a good exit, take the wide line, and he's going to use all the push to pass he can get. But Shepherd's going to be on it as well. What an exit from Fiduci. They're coming down the hanger straight now towards Stowe, and this is anyone's race. Let's see what happens.
Oh, you couldn't have scripted it, could you? They're not even, or they're barely a car length apart. And Shepherd returns to the lead as they come into Stowe once again. It's going to be a bit of a banzai move from Fiducci if he wants to get that lead back again. Decent exit from both of them coming out of Stowe. Now down towards Vale once again. And I wondered if Fiducci was going to try and banzai the inside there. He knows better than that. He knows there's 2 more races to go. But your winner for race number 1 here at Silverstone International is Chris Shepherd in the number 24 Epic Racing Infinity. Second is chased home by Gianmarco Fiducci in the Veloci Esports number 46 BMW, with Dan Herlock in the number 1 RSR BMW in third. What a race for the top slots. Then it is Cripps from O'Leary, from Wilson, from Richards, from Kell, all in really short order. So many cars coming across the line, you can't read the names out quick enough. But with Willis rounding out the top 10, my God, John, what a race.
Yeah, that was sensational stuff. I mean, obviously we focused a lot on the lead battle because it just was non-stop, wasn't it? We had battles for position every single lap. Great stuff between, it has to be said, all 3 at the front, and Matt as well earlier on. So 4 drivers really in the mix. And it's the usual suspects, you know, Matt Richards and Dan Herlock we see at the top all the time. Fiducci we see potentially as a season favourite now with the pace showing and the experience he's got in other series. But then Chris Shepherd, always one who can put in a strong performance, especially if he's got a lighter car than those around him. He is capable of those one-off results, but let's hope we can see more consistency from him across the season. Great victory from him though. I mean, he had so much pressure to deal with there, Chris. Even if he had more grip, he still had to work really, really hard for that one. I think he placed his car perfectly to hold on to that position. So thoroughly deserved victor here in race 1. And that just sets us up brilliantly for race 2. Shepherd's going to have to get used to the harder tyre quite quickly, and he's going to have maximum ballast. So he is going to have a very, very tricky time of it to hang on to that top 6 spot in the second race.
Oh, isn't he just? So let's have a look at some action replays then of the incredible action that we've just seen. Crikey, there's no shortage of action to have a replay of as we have a look at the start first off. So Fiducci, what happened here? He's usually been so strong at every stage in every race, but that start just did not go his way. And it was Herlock that took that initial lead. The inside line was Richards, but just couldn't quite get that overlap. He gave it everything he had. Goes to the inside line here into the village. Bit of a tap. There's touring cars. There's taps and bangs and bumps all over. Richards could not quite get the better of the Italian. He had another go here at the end of the first lap, coming down into Abbey once again. He does get the overlap initially. It does not remain in that position for too long. But then it was just these 4 duking it out for the remainder of the laps. And that was a big moment. As we see, there was the Civic that was going off for a spin. And that was, I forget who it was that had that big moment. It was Jordan Richardson that had that big moment in the Vapor Shield race number 52. Then it is just a case of, right, pick your lap, because there was action on it. Abbacido Via then getting alongside an up-close and personal with Richardson BMWs as it continued all the way through Stowe, and then led that particular group. And then the Richardson Go BMWs arguing among themselves. That is where Chris Shepherd then took the lead, that he was not to relinquish for the remainder of the race. But God, he had to work so hard for it. As you can see here, Matt Richards didn't let him hang on to, or didn't let it hang on to it without challenge, I should say. But then Shepherd just got the ball here, manages to eventually use every pixel of space. Then you had that lovely side-by-side moment for these 2 cars. Shepherd just about manages to keep that title fight, maintain that momentum, and eventually maintain the lead as Herlock and Fiducci come together, not for the first time, not for the last. Matt Richards, he did get the inside on it, you can't fault. That was so there was impact between the two. So as Matt Richards came across Chris Shepherd's nose, there was not quite enough room. It will allow the stewards to decide who was the ultimate victor or villain in that one. But yeah, that was an attempt from Fiducci to usurp Shepherd from the lead, which he tried again and again and again. But Chris Shepherd fending off the advances of the Italian at every turn. God, that must have been... I bet he worked off a few calories and sweat in that one.
Oh yeah, more than that, for sure. This was only with a lap and a half to go, of course, as well. So this was make or break, really. And yeah, brilliant defending from Chris Shepherd. I mean, he holds the outside line there. Yes, he kind of, I guess, barges Fiducia wide a little bit there, but he had to be there. Fiducia was squeezing him to the inside. I don't think there was anything untoward there, just hard racing, as I said. And he did manage to hang on for that last lap as well. We saw great side-by-side stuff behind them as well, between likes of Ryan Elliott and the Richard & Co cars. But a brilliant race out front. Real shame for Matt Richards not to be in the mix at the end. It did look like, though, that may have been his fault. It may have moved slightly over across the front of Shepherd, but you'd have to see it from other angles, and of course the stewards will be taking a look. But yeah, great stuff from Shepherd, great stuff from Fiducia, and Dan Hurlock actually had the quieter role in that race, sitting in P3 by the end of it, but he's obviously picking up good points as well. So happy days for all of those guys. And it'll be interesting to see now. Matt Richards will have the lighter car, so we'll see him fighting through from further back in the field. The Richards and Co BMWs had a lot of pace. They were coming through too. So I think this one's anyone's game, but it's going to be so hard to fight off the likes of Fiducia, because he's proven what he can do on maximum ballast. You know, what's he going to do on anything less than that?
Absolutely. So this is how the results stand without Stewart's intervention for this first race. Chris Shepherd for Epic Racing, just about fending off Jean-Marc Fiducia for Veloci. Then it was Dan Hurlock for RSR, Callum Cripps for Richards & Co, alongside Tom O'Leary, your top five. Callum Wilson for Richards & Co, so Richards & Co 4, 5, and 6. Again, good brand representation there. 7th was Matt Richards for Drake. 8th was Dan Kell for Calamity alongside Jack London in 9th. And then Ben Willis for Drake, rounding out your top 10. But wow, the results really don't show all the action that took place. Cedar Vaya for Brabham in 11th, and Matthew Allington for YCF in 12th. Cameron Brewster for Drake in 13th. Adam Christopher for Quartermass 14th. Alan Smith for Craven in 15th. Ryan Elliott for RSI in 16th. Ty Cuthbert for Quartermass in 17th. Paul Crawford, we really didn't see him, did we? It's a shame. It's a beautiful livery on the Hyundai for DCW Racing. Jordan Richardson, we saw had that big moment of the Vapor Shield Honda in 19th. Thiago Lopez, also a stand-in for tonight's race 4. He's standing in for Joao Belto, the number 84 Grow Racing car. Max Spooner in the Quartermass, number 21. Those we lost. We lost Mitch Marie. Sam Damon, I think, had a penalty, so spent a lot of time in the pits, unfortunately. We'd also lost Aaron Markham, Nathan Croak, Bruno Renault, and Jeffrey Fournier from this race. So then, the field for race 2 is formed from the results of race 1. So as they finished for the first race is how they will line up, but with some ballast adjustments, as John was saying, for the second race. So the field out there now just doing a little bit more warm-up. I'm sure they're pretty damn warm considering how warm it is in the UK at the moment.
I'm warm, let alone these guys. I'm not driving.
So, interesting question here. Now this was... shall we say, a common point of talking between me and Aces, who I can see in the chat. Good to see you along for the ride. Shame you're not in the box with us, but we hope you're well. Which would be your chariot of choice for this, John? Obviously, you've had some experience with these cars, certainly more than we did. So, from personal experience or personal preference, what would you go for?
So I would definitely be picking rear-wheel drive for myself if I was just racing in this individually. But I actually spent 2 seasons driving front-wheel drive machinery. I raced the Ford Focus for Zanshow and then raced the Corolla for Rocket last season. And basically, a lot of that was down to just team decision and what car would be good. And I am terrible at doing setups and stuff, so it helps when I pick the same car as my teammate who can actually set up a car. So that's always a benefit. So I have spent a couple of years in front-wheel drive cars, but I've always been very jealous of those who get to slide the rear around. And I'm definitely a rear-wheel drive fan myself. The thing is, though, that the championship always goes through swings in form, and sometimes it looks like rear wheel drive have an advantage, and at other times the front wheel drives are better. And it's when you see the likes of Matt Richards jumping between the two and being able to be successful in both. In that first race there, his first appearance I've seen in front wheel drive, and he was right up there leading until the unfortunate contact with Shepherd. You've also seen other drivers making the switch. Dan Hurlock looking incredibly strong in his first season in the I think he was in the Cupra, I believe, racing for RSR, formerly under a different name, of course, and Team Hard they were, I believe, a few years ago. And then he switched to that's a massive crash in the background. He switched to the rear-wheel drive car last season and absolutely dominated the field. So he's proven that you can do it in both drivetrain layouts as well. So it really does come down to personal preference. And the championship organisers do a great job to keep things balanced as well between all of the different manufacturers and the different drivetrain layouts. So you just get this incredibly exciting racing where anyone can win it. But yeah, long story short, rear-wheel drive for sure.
So I'm a little bit with you on that one as well, John. I would be a bit partial to the BMW. My very limited sim racing I've done has been in rear-wheel drive machinery, by and large. So it would be the BMW for me. I love that sort of comment from Max Talks. If you can't drift front-wheel drive cars, you're doing it wrong. Well, I'll take your word for that. Generally, if I'm sliding in a front-wheel drive car, I have generally done it very wrong by that point.
We saw Dan Kell drifting earlier in the front wheel drive in the middle. I was thinking, the car on the inside must be the other one because Dan's in the front wheel drive. Oh no, it's Dan. He's just sideways. The thing is as well, the way these guys set up the cars at the top of the grid are so aggressive. The cars are really on the nose. So even the front wheel drive cars are incredibly agile. And when you turn the car and you do get the back chirping away, my car was way too oversteery last season, and you would have seen it in any of the broadcasts. But basically, I was drifting the thing accidentally everywhere, especially the likes of Thruxton. And it wasn't the best way to go about things. But you just have to be so on the edge because you're talking about tenths of a second at the top of this field. You need your car to be as pointy as possible, and then you just need to manage it. And obviously you can make it safer and make it a little bit less pointy, but you're going to lose a little bit of lap time. So it's always a bit of a trade-off. And what I also find is whatever car you're driving, you always look at other people and think, I wish I had this. I wish I had the other better car. My car's rubbish. I wish I had everyone else's. You jump in their car, you're like, oh, thank goodness I'm in mine.
That's it, yeah. I'm much like you. I can't do setups for love nor money. That's why I'm a commentator. But I've never really wrapped my head around finding that ideal solution. But I was also a bit of a glutton for punishment. Any kind of sim racing I used to do, I would love to try and take every car available in whatever platform I was racing on and take it for a lap around, like Donington or Browns or something. But I would take like all of them with, shall we say, interesting results. So one thing
we'll need to get you in a car at one point, Chris, in this championship, so we can see. See what you're made of.
I would be last and lapped. Would have to be like along my livery. But let's talk about tyre allocation then. So those that have run the soft tyre this time were, I don't think Ross McGregor was actually with us this time, but he would have done for race one. Sam Downman, sadly we didn't see a lot of him. Chris Shepherd, he's run his option tyre. Paul, no, you haven't run yours yet. Well, that's slidey ways. Bravo. Aaron Markham, Matty Allington, Wright Elliott, Callum Cripps, Adam Christopher have all run theirs. Ben Willis, Alan Smith, Ben Bennyworth, alongside Stefan McCready and Matthew Williams. So they have run their soft tyre. They cannot do so for the rest of the night. So those who have opted to run their option tyre on this race, bearing in mind they have to announce that before the race begins, are as follows. Cedo Via for Brabham. We've got Matt Richards standing in for Phil Morby. We've got Mitch Marie. We've got Cameron Brewster. We've got Nathan Croak. We've got Tom O'Leary. Who else is running theirs? Ty Cuthbert, Dan Kell, Max Spooner, who's standing in for Ben Bennyworth, and Jeffrey Fournier. So those are the 9 drivers that are running their option tyres this time around. See, we are forming for the standing start for race number 2. And as mentioned, this is going to be in the finishing order from the previous race. So it's going to be Shepherd and Fiducci on the front row, with Herlock and Cripps row 2, O'Leary and Wilson row 3, Richards and Cal row 4, London and Willis rounding out your front 5 rows. Well,
watch out for front-wheel drive here, Chris, because we have, Cedo Vire, Dan Kell, Matt Richards, all front-wheel drive efforts, all on the option tyre. And not finishing right at the top of that field means they will have less ballast for race 2. So do not be surprised if we see at least 2, maybe even 3 front-wheel drive cars right at the front of this field come the end of the race. Also watch out for Thomas O'Leary as well in the Richardson Co BMW, because he is someone who has probably been one of the surprises of the championship in the last few seasons. He came kind of out of nowhere really and was just really, really strong in his first championship. He switched to the rear-wheel drive for this season, and I expect to see him right near the front as well. So yeah, keep an eye on that middle of the top 10, because I think you're going to see some moving there very soon.
Awesome stuff. So I know I've asked you this before, John, but for the benefit of those that may not have heard a particular answer, talk us through a driver's mindset right this moment. You're doing the warm-up lap. What's going through your mind?
Well, if it's me, it's, oh no, I've not assigned a neutral button and I'm going to miss my pit box, because I've done that before. No, it's this point here is just getting the brakes up to temperature. Obviously, a lot of the drivers, you'll be thinking tyres as well, and that might be what a viewer thinks of first. But in our Factor 2, I think the most important thing is getting your brakes hot. The tyres wear very quickly, so yes, you want a bit of heat in them, but you don't want to be wearing them out too quickly on that opening lap, because every single percentage of wear is going to make a big difference in the long run. But the main thing is dragging the brakes, getting everything warm. The rear-wheel drive cars are going to be doing a bit more weaving as well. But yeah, that's essentially the main thing. You're just happy to be getting going. This part of the race is less stressful than the pre-race warm-up, actually, because the warm-up, it just feels a bit like you're wandering around and procrastinating and just waiting for things to start. At this point here, you know that you're about to get going. So just keep an eye on the temperatures on your HUD on the bottom right of your screen if you're racing in R Factor 2. Make sure your buttons are proper. Make sure your fuel maps are all correct and everything's ready to go. And yeah, you'll just be getting a feel for the clutch pedal. And it's all going to be about the launch as well. You know, the rear-wheel drive cars always launch better than the front-wheel drive cars, so that's going to be an advantage for those at the moment at the front of the field, of course, but it all evens out because they're all in the same boat. And yeah, you'll just be basically picking your pit box or your starting position and focusing now on turn 1. And don't stall your engine as well, or if you do stall your engine, please have a button assigned to get it restarted. I'm just listing you all the things that I've done wrong in the past that I've learned not to do again.
Well, that's how they say you best learn by your own mistakes. So I haven't stalled on the grid. I've had terrible starts, but I haven't stalled. I've gone off the road at the safety car. That's probably one of my most embarrassing.
I've rolled it under a safety car into a pit lane. So
well,
anything you can do, I can do better.
I'll bow to you on that one. Right then, so grid formed for race number 2. Shepherd and Fiduci at the front of the field. What can they do from here? It is lights out and away we go. So, oh, look at that. Shepherd immediately cutting off Gianmarco Fiduci. That's Dan Herlock that immediately resumes the battle for the top 3, getting into the tyre tracks of the Italian. Bit of dust being kicked up in the background. We'll have to see how everybody... Looks like everybody has survived the first few turns. Big, heavy braking zone now coming into Village. So then, Fiduci already on the attack, trying to wrong foot Chris Shepherd as they're coming through the cut through now, back through onto Hanger Straight. And already, look at that, that's Tom O'Leary in the 59 car that is latched onto the back of Dan Herlock. So then, is there going to be an opportunity for the Ritters and Co number 59 to try and make a move? He looks at the inside line. Can he get the overlap on Dan Herlock? Not quite, but Dan Herlock really had to think about it. He saw the locking up there of the BMW. Just about prevent the impact between the two. And already we've got a gap forming between Tom O'Leary, and that's Matt Richards in the number 14. And we've seen how quick he is. He'll be looking for redemption here in race 2.
Yeah, Matt almost got hit actually by one of the cars carrying his name into turn 3, which I believe would have been Callum Cripps, but managed to keep it together. For Matt, though, he just wants to get through this first lap in the position, and then he can get into the rhythm with those soft tyres. Shepherd will be trying to hold on for as long as he can, because if he gets out of rhythm, it's going to be a disaster. We've got Jack London dropping down the field by the looks of it, so there's been an issue there, potentially in the club chicane, but Shepherd holds on for now. You can see Fiduci all over the back of him, Fiduci to the outside, the same as Shepherd did in the last race, actually, so it's roles reversed. So O'Leary on the softs in 4th, Matt Richards on the softs in 5th, and Dan Kell in 6th, also on the softs. So those are the names you need to watch out for. Matt Allington on his soft tyres drops down 2, so he's had an issue in the first few corners. But Shepherd doing well at the moment to be still holding on to that lead. He's got 3 tenths over our championship leader Fiduci. Herlock sitting in there in 3rd in his favourite position, but maybe not for much longer, because here comes Thomas O'Leary down the inside. He's got the superior grip in that BMW, the Richards & Co car taking the position, and he will have his eyes thoroughly set on the lead. For O'Leary, actually, the main thing is going to be getting up to P1 before Richards and Kell can catch them. And I can guarantee you that Matt Richards and Dan Kell, the experience they've got, they will be working together right now to close the gap on this lead 4.
Absolutely. So it was a fairly straightforward manoeuvre there for Tom O'Leary. I think Dan Herlock knew that one was done, so didn't try and close the door with the BMW already in it. Best lap for Gianmarco Fiduci. Of course, he is pushing hard at the moment. That fastest lap, he's going to continue to fall into Abbey once again. Shepherd gets that inside line and keeps the Italian at bay. But Gianmarco Fiduci can't just have eyes forward. He's got another BMW to contend with in the form of the charging Tom O'Leary. So it's the Infiniti leading a three-car BMW brigade. But Fiduci, good exit onto the Hanger Straight from the loop, side by side with Shepherd. You can see the tower. It did dip below a tenth of a second, but just and only just fended off into the braking zone for Stowe. The Infiniti maintains the lead.
That was epic from Fiducci on the exit. I thought he had him covered. He did a brilliant job to get the overlap, but then Shepherd just gets the power. Maybe using more push to pass, or maybe just superior performance. Bit close there for O'Leary on the inside, but managing to get it stuck, and he gets it sideways as well as he comes through and out towards the end of the third lap. Herlock just dropping off the back, but we're talking about a tenth or two here. It's probably a safer position to be. And then you have 2 seconds, or well, 1.3 between Herlock and Richards, 4th and 5th. And once again, Shepherd's holding on, so it's lap 4 now, and we still have Chris Shepherd in the lead. I have to say, I thought Fiducci would be making a move by now. And right on time.
Right
down
on
the
cue.
inside. he goes, and Shepherd's gonna have the inside for this left though, as they head through. But if Fiducci can keep the overlap, which he does, he then has the inside line as they head onto the hanger straight. And Shepherd now needs to watch his mirrors, because he is gonna have O'Leary all over the back of him.
Yeah, well, Tom O'Leary got slotted into the tyre tracks of Gianmarco Fiducci, who feels the need to defend the inside line. So coming up to Stowe once again. Oh no! Shepherd gets the overlap, unfortunately, on Tom O'Leary. He manages to... How the hell did you keep that out of the wall? Manages to find a little bit of terra firma, but that is kicking up a lot of dust. Chris Shepherd falls outside of the top 7 now as he slots it behind... falls into 7th, falling into Callum Cripps. Oh, that is such a shame. Again, a tiny mistake, tiny misjudgment, and that is going to be so hard to make up that time.
Yeah, Shepherd, unfortunately, the victim there, or I say victim, I mean, he was the one in front. I didn't see it in the first instance whether one driver, again, closed in on the other, but it was the same thing that happened to Richards in the last race, but with Shepherd, the one hitting him. So, unfortunate for Chris, but he did really, really well to keep that car under control in the grass. He locked up his tyres perfectly and managed to regain the control without wiping anyone out into Stowe. So, full credit there for the save, but he's now going to have shot tyres as we see O'Leary taking, let's just say, a suboptimal line into the loop and onto the hanger straight, looking maybe down the inside of Fiducci, but I think Maury made a bit of a mistake through the left-hander before it. I do think O'Leary, though, is going to have a good chance at this. 4 tenths back. I keep banging on about the soft tyre, but it really does make a big difference. Speaking of big difference, Matt Richards down the inside on his soft tyres. He's now 1.2 seconds off the lead as well, and there is Kell. So here come the front-wheel drive brigade. They are getting invested, and O'Leary is going to want to try and get past Fiducci as early as possible if he's going to try and win this race, because he's going to have to watch his mirror here for the Cupra and the Ford.
Matt Richards basically just said, surprise, I'm coming, and through into third he went. There was no opportunity for Dan Hill to do anything about that. Slightly further back, we've got one of the quartermaster cars against the number 39, so that is around about 10th position or so that is arguing for. That's Cameron Brewster in the 39 car. That was a good guess. Adam Christopher in the quartermaster car. Oh, a lot of sliding going on into Abbey. They just about managed to keep their cars pointing in the right direction. Right behind them, that's Ty Cuthbert. Oh, big moment there for the 97. That's Jeff Fournier in that very multicolored Infinity. He's also on the soft tyres, so a big group of soft tyre runners from 11th to 15th. So that's Brewster, Fournier, Cuthbert, Marie, and Via all on the soft tyres. And look at Fiducci up front. Tom O'Leary is trying to keep the Italian behind him. So are they going to do it as the camera pans round? They're still side by side. They were side by side all the way through Stowe. Now towards Vale once again. Who's going to win out here? So Tom Leary has the inside line initially. That's going to switch to the outside line. The Italian still there. Oh, bit of a bounce off there as he tries to hip check Tom O'Leary. The Richards to go BMW not standing for that and up into the lead.
Meanwhile, Richards has been saving his push to pass down there in third, letting the action kick off ahead of him. But O'Leary has the lead now, so this is where it's really going to have to kick into action for the Cupra driver. Of course, O'Leary will be trying to run away. Fiduci's not going to be wanting to give up any positions easily in this race either. So, yeah, let's see what happens and how this one develops. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. Now, if Richards does get past Fiduci, I don't know if he'll want to really beat O'Leary in this race, because obviously O'Leary's racing for Matt Richards' team and doing the full season, whereas Matt is just subbing in at Drake Racing for today. So, an interesting dynamic going on there. Don't forget about Dan Kell as well. He'll be right in the mix too, in 4th place, and you've got cars all over the dirt towards the back of the field. So great stuff once again. It was nice to see Paul Crawford inside the top 20 as well, just in the back of the train we were looking at earlier. Cito Vire in the mix there as well. I was expecting him to be a bit further up in this race, and you can see the focuses in the quartermaster car really close in the background. But you can already see, I mean, O'Leary's pulled almost a second on Fiduci, and it's actually Kell who's all over the back of Matt Richards. He looks like the one who's got the most racing in him right now.
Oh, like they're not going to challenge for positions. They're racing drivers. Of course they're going to go for it. But, I mean, I get what you mean. Is how hard do you challenge for racing seat that's essentially not yours right now. You're just filling in for somebody else. I would think that as soon as the green light goes, that's it. It is absolutely full attack, as we are seeing number 89 of Dan Kell. That is Matt Richards. He is challenging Dan Herlock in their tyre tracks as well. So the soft tyres still giving advantage. Will do for probably another 6 or 7 laps, maybe, before they start to go away. Fastest lap by Tom O'Leary into the 105s now. We're seeing 105.5. A storming time for the Richards & Co. BMW. Dan Kell leapfrogging ahead of Matt Richards into Stowe. So now his target very much set on Gianmarco Fiducci. Oh, that BMW has been really loose. He's getting all kinds of squiggly under the brakes. That's got to be quite unnerving in almost every heavy braking zone.
I don't know, at this level, these guys, they want the car to be moving around that much because it just gives them full control over it. And yeah, they drive the cars right on the limit, and it always looks like they're about to lose it. And anyone with less ability would lose it on every occasion on these setups, but these guys know exactly what they're doing. You know, we've seen it for years with the likes of Herlock as well. I'm always thinking they're about to have a crash, and they somehow always pull it off. So it's just driving right on the limit, and I think that's exactly what the likes of Fiduci's doing. Thomas O'Leary the same, and he's got great pace out front actually. O'Leary, he's now 1.1 clear, and Kell's got past Richards, and they've been dropped really by the front too. So full credit to Thomas O'Leary. He's not only showing that the soft tyres helping him get into the lead, as we saw a Quartermass car losing it in the background there. I'm not sure which one it was. Looks like it could have been Ty Cuthbert dropping back through the field. It was indeed.
You are right. Yes, that's a shame that he was the one that you had a particular eye on. But sadly, the Quartermass car facing the wrong way, coming through into the hangar straight. It's not as you said earlier, suboptimal. As we switch back to this particular battle, so that is Cal from Richards from Herlock. Cal's got a tiny bit of breathing space, around 0.8 of a second or so. And, again, I wouldn't expect that to stay that way for too long. As Tom O'Leary continues to stretch his legs up front, he's with 0.02 of a second quicker, if that, than Gianmarco Fiduci. So consistency between the top drivers as always. Switching back to this particular battle, so that's 39. That's Cameron Brewster. Trying to keep in the tyre tracks of Ben Willis ahead of him. Now Cameron and Jeff Fournier right in the middle of shot. They are on the soft tyres, but they may well have burnt the best out of those by now. And then Christopher in the Quartermass car behind with Cito Vaya also vying for position, their own bit of real estate, then a tiny bit of breathing space back to Mitch Marie. It's a wonderful pack here, all fighting for what is ultimately 9th.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone in the rest of the field are in this battle. You can see there the Paul Crawford car just in the background, holding on to his P20 at the moment in the Hyundai. He's obviously got past Cuthbert after his incident. We're seeing side-by-side action here, and a bit of a punt there from Vire on the inside. He wasn't been given any room whatsoever by, I think that was Christopher, was it? And yeah, obviously they managed to get through it in one piece, which was nice to see, but no quarters being given by either driver there, it looks like. But Vire up into P12, and of course you've got to think about the reverse grid. The more positions these guys can get, the higher the chances are they are going to be able to pick up a reverse grid position. So everyone fighting for that top 12 spot will be desperate to try and get in the mix. Vire sliding it into the first corner, and it's actually he's looking to take advantage of the two in front who are going to be side by side. It's Fournier and Brewster. And it's someone else dropping down. Dan Herlock's had an issue, it looks like. He's dropped down to P8, and Ben Willis is now dropping. This is the battle we're seeing right now, actually. So, yeah, chaos throughout the field. Yeah,
Ben Willis was wrong-footed there. Fournier was the biggest gainer. Yeah, but what on earth has happened to Dan Herlock? He's now down, as you say, into 8th position. Well, there he is. So, again, that'll be one mistake. But with the field so close, that is how costly it is. And already Fournier being challenged and conquered essentially by Callum Brewster. Via fending off the advantage of Willis coming into Stowe once again. Then you've got Christopher and Marie right behind them. This battle is absolutely fascinating. You'd think this was for the lead, but they fight that hard for any position they can get. But why? Because they're racing drivers.
Exactly that. And even though it's only P12, P11, P10 that are fighting here, this is hugely important, because if you can get that reverse grid, I mean, we know how fast some of these drivers are. We've seen, Cameron Brewster been right at the front in races before. Obviously, Dan Herlock now in P8, and Vire, one of the R Factor 2's best drivers on many series over the years. So these guys are high level, and if they can get that reverse grid, and then, they're in with a really good fighting chance in the last race, because they won't have much ballast either. All the quick guys are going to be stuck outside the top 10. Bit of contact behind as well. I mean, you can see it's just full-on carnage here, racing at Silverstone. They're not giving anything. Side by side every corner, bumping and bashing, but it's great to watch. Absolutely thrilling stuff.
as Adam Christopher and Mitch Marie, the Quartermass and Calamity cars, getting a bit up close and personal. As there goes Mitch Marie, then trying to regain that position from the very colourful Quartermass car, noses ahead and manages to get it done before the braking zone of Stowe. Look at the tower, people. That gap between Gianmarco Fiducci and Tom O'Leary is falling now. So I suspect that those soft tyres have not given up the ghost per se, but they have given up their best, as now the Italian is closing right in once again on Tom O'Leary as we continue to watch this superb battle, or we did for a while. Oh, blimey, at the top of the shot, that was Callum Cripps and Matt Richards swapping around, the BMW usurping the Cupra for 4th place. But now Gianmarco Fiducci very much in the tyre tracks of Tom O'Leary now. So it's still Beamer versus Beamer, as Dan Kell there, he is in the Ford, just a little bit on his own comparatively speaking. And then you've got this block of 5 cars that is Cripps right down to Dan Herlock. So as always with touring cars, there is fighting everywhere to be found.
Yeah, there's even fighting going on right now in the fringes of the top 20. Allington and Crawford are at it as well. It's just wherever you look, there's great racing happening in this TCUK field. It's always been a great championship to watch, and it's fantastic to be in the commentary box for it, because normally at this point I'm stressed and right in the thick of a battle, but I really enjoy just watching it as it's happening. So some great stuff going on. We're now looking at one of the epic racing infinities. That's of course Chris Shepherd, our race 1 winner, who's currently in P7, so he's looking quite good for a reverse grid position here, but he will want to try and hold on from Dan Herlock. But I tell you what, I say he wants to hold on, he's just lifted and let him back through. These two were teammates in the past as well, and a bit of friendliness showing there, but I just think that Shepherd didn't want to fight Herlock. He knows he's got the pace potentially, and he's going to let him go with that one. This is your lead battle though, and as you said, Fiducci really is closing in on O'Leary. The gap's been under a second for a while, but it's now come down to about 5 tenths, 6 tenths. There's of course push to pass at play, so these gaps do kind of to and fro as the race goes on, but the benefit of the soft tyres will be diminishing. There'll still be an advantage, don't get me wrong, for the softs, even at the end of this race, but the gap between the two definitely gets smaller because the softs wear that little bit quicker, and that's potentially what you're seeing right now. Kell 3.5 seconds back, so he's not really in the fight here unless there's contact between these front two. Fiducci, a man with so much experience, he'll know how to save his tyres. He's not drifting the car quite as much as Thomas O'Leary, although we have seen many lockups, of course, from the Italian. But yeah, this one's going to go right down to the wire, I can be sure of that. And this is Marie, who had a DNF in the last race, battling it out with, I believe that's Christopher behind him, and Richardson just behind as well. So there's a big battle continuing at the fringes of the top 10. This one's been going on for the entire race.
Very much so, and is showing no sign of dissipating as well. There's Richardson as well, who had that big spin at near the beginning of the first race. So good to see the 15th place Honda is in there and doing battle with the rest of the field. So this is just superb stuff. Again, we are in the closing stages of this race. Someone nicked the checkered flag, so this one can carry on for a while, because this is absolutely superb. Mitch Marie still trying to press his advantage and get ahead of Ben Willis, the number 85 Drake Racing entry right ahead of him. And wow, look at Willis go straight for that defensive line. That's going to have to force Mitch Marie in the Ford around the outside. Can he do it? He's not got the, well, he has got the overlap, but he is slightly behind as they go through Stowe. They're banging away. No, that's going to give the initial inside line advantage to Mitch Marie. Oh no, that's another one that's overlapped too early. Oh, that could have gone so much worse. But that's going to drop Mitch Marie from a potential gaining position. Now down 2 as he's now tangling with Richards. Oh no! As it's overlapped with the Honda, that sent Mitch Marie careening off the road and into the walls on the outside of Club. That is not what you want to see, but sadly, his race is still continuing, but not in an ideal way. Switching back to our lead battle though, is Fiducci going to have a look on the inside of Stowe? Not on this occasion, but he is so close. It seems that an attempt is imminent.
It's never good to be facing off with a marshal holding a yellow flag for an incident that you've just caused, is it? It's not great. Yeah, I say he caused it, obviously. What I don't mean in terms of the actual incident itself. I'd have to see a replay there, but yeah, not a great weekend whatsoever for Marie. That's 2 bad races now in a row, and he'll be looking to redeem himself in the last one. And look at Fiducci all over the sausage curve, gets a bit sideways, and that can make a big difference. Look at the gap just increase there. He's probably lost a couple of tenths. Having said that, he's on the push to pass, because look at the gap come straight back down again. O'Leary responds as they now head into Abbey. We've got 2 laps to go here. I think O'Leary's got enough to hang on, but Fiducci is not letting him off with this one. He's going to have to be flawless from here until the end. And I think Fiduci has just been saving those tyres. He's got the push to pass, and he is going to be all over the back of Thomas O'Leary. So, can Thomas hold on? A great test here for our driver.
Very, very true as they come through the cut through and back onto the hangar straight once again. Now, is this going to be an opportunity? We've got 1 and a bit laps to go. So penultimate time of asking coming down into Stowe. I think Fiduci's just biding his time. He wants to attack at a time when Tom O'Leary will not have time to counter-attack. It's dangerous, of course, because if your attack does not come off, you haven't got time to mount another one. So that is what I think is Gianmarco Fiduci is what he's doing. So we will have to see as we come through Club and into through Vale, through Club once again to start the final lap of this second race. Now, as John was saying, the final grid of the night is a reverse grid, but the amount of grid positions that are reversed is randomly chosen. So it is not a given on how many grid positions are reversed. So the drivers can't entirely rely on it. And there goes Fiduci. He's going to try and wrong foot the BMW. Well, he's 2 in the BMW, but Tom O'Leary's got the inside line covered. But Fiduci still hanging on in there. He needs the momentum to try and get ahead of the Ritters and go number 59. He can't do it. Tom O'Leary's fended off one attack. Fiduci still with the inside line. He hasn't quite done it, but he's closer again than he has been for the last few laps. So, along the hangar straight once again, Fiduci, he is getting closer, he's getting closer. There goes O'Leary for the defensive line into Stowe. As Fiduci just sweeps around the outside. There's a little bit of contact between them. There's barely a pixel's width between them. Tom O'Leary is not giving up on this one yet. There hasn't completed the move. He needs to stay alongside. Look at Fiduci getting all kind of loose. Has he managed to do it? We won't know until they cross the line. Tom O'Leary can't get the overlap at the right time. Your winner for race number 2, the Veloci driver, Gianmarco Fiduci. What a perfectly executed move.
Sensational stuff from the Italian. What a move there. Around the outside into Stowe on the last lap. And he didn't have an overlap or anything. He was a 10th behind. He pulled out and he just went for it. And he managed to keep it somehow close to the apex, but they avoided too much contact. Yes, there was a little bit of door banging, but nothing crazy. And just an incredible overtaking manoeuvre. A real show of class there from Fiduci. And then managing to get the car stopped, get the position held by blocking off O'Leary on the next corner. It was just textbook stuff. And you've got to hand it to him. I mean, O'Leary drove a great race, held on for as long as he could. But Fiduci just had that magic sparkle on the final lap. And he's taken yet another victory. That's going to be his 3rd of the season, with a couple of second places to go with it. So this is just looking ominous for the rest of the field. I mean, 3 wins in 2 seconds in the championship this close is unheard of. So incredible stuff for Veloci.
Wow, well, that was absolutely epic. So then, how many of our top 12 will be reversed? So as mentioned, it's randomly chosen. We will be notified when that number has been picked, or we'll get the spinning wheel to show us. We will have to see. But the drivers don't know. No one knows. So you can't plan on finishing 12th to then finish, to start pole in the reverse grid race. You can't make that bet. It might go that way, but you can't drive to that standard. So there will be some that will kind of think that way. But until we know how many positions are being reversed, that is a very big unknown element. Now, there's another question for you, John. I love reverse grid race from a driver's standpoint. Actually, we'll carry on that one in a minute as we now have the race replays for the amazing action. Look how aggressively we just saw Gianmarco Fiduci just to deny that early momentum. So Gianmarco Fiduci not suffering that kind of bogging down that he had in the first race. And then it'll be interesting if we can see the replay of what happened to some of these drivers that caused them to fall a bit out of the top positions, other than Fiduci, of course. So again, all the side-by-sides going on is a battle of the beamers behind Chris Shepherd at this point. As that's Tom O'Leary that gains that 3rd from down the RSR driver knew that one was done and just allowed the Ritters and Co beamer through. That was the move from Fiduci, or attempted to get through on Shepherd. Just how did he do that? Having a car that loose would just make me terrified to drive it. But then, exactly as you say, John, a driver of Gianmarco Fiduci's caliber can drive absolutely anything.
Well, it's an R Factor 2 specific thing. There was the contact again, by the way, between O'Leary and Shepherd. Not that we'll be playing the blame game anyway, but let's see what the stewards make of it. Just well done to Shepherd for getting it back on safely. But yeah, it's one of those things. R Factor 2 tends to really benefit drivers that can drive a car on the limit of grip and use the rear end to steer it and getting the power really early. And that's why you see a lot of the quickest drivers on this platform doing that and getting the most time out of it by doing so. It's a very specific thing to this platform, and it's great to watch. I can't complain about it as a commentator. And I actually love it as a driver as well. Just makes it a lot of fun. And you can see there Dan Kyle holding on to third position from Matt Richards earlier as well. And that was before Earl had his mistake, because he obviously dropped back without something we didn't quite see on the camera. And this was Fournier right next there, recovering Shepherd, got fire. This was a great lap. It was just in front of the top 10. This one was valid very close.
Yeah, it so was. It was it kind of changed flavour, but it didn't really dissipate it at all, did it? Again, no complaints there whatsoever. It's just the amount of jostling, people trying to find their own bit of Northamptonshire real estate to try and better their positions. Still, again, so many overtakes going. Yes, we did have a few more incidents in that race, but by and large, the racing was absolutely superb. So the stewards will have all the kind of racing angles and replays that we simply won't have here. And it'll be up to them to decide if the penalties that will carry over into the next race, which will be, I believe that is Thruxton in 2 weeks' time. So one of my local tracks, absolutely wonderful place. Have you raced there before, John?
Thruxton is the one circuit still to travel to, sadly. It's just never been on a calendar that I've been racing it. It's just epic.
God, and this was the Fiduci and Tom O'Leary battle. This was the moment when it's just that ever dancing Veloci BMW just wants to misbehave, but the mighty Italian just keeping it in check. And this was the moment that Tom O'Leary just got a tiny bit wrong-footed. But even still, Tom O'Leary went to that defensive line, but he'd lost that tiny bit of momentum. He even had a punch in the face, it looks like, coming through Stowe. And then, as much as Tom O'Leary tried, the overlap was right there and through into the lead with just 2 corners to go. And that was enough to secure the racy victory for Marco Fiduci.
Can I just jump in there, Chris, just to say, I mean, I was singing, obviously, the praises of Fiduci for that race win, but great stuff from O'Leary to keep it clean as well. Like, he could have easily forced out Fiduci on the outside and just held on to that victory and been, had his elbows out, but he was really, really clean. He kept it great, and it takes 2 to make a great race like that, so huge credit to Thomas O'Leary for that.
Absolutely so. So then, before any kind of stewards intervention, race 2 results looked like this. Gianmarco Fiduci for Veloci taking the win by the narrowest margin over Tom O'Leary for Richards & Co. in second. Dan Kell for Calamity Motorsport in third, with Callum Cripps for Richards & Co. fourth, with Callum Wilson, Richards & Co. in fifth. Matt Richards for Drake in sixth. Dan Herlock for RSI in seventh. Jeff Fournier for Epic in eighth. Chris Shepherd coming home in ninth in the end for Epic in the Infinity, with Cedar Vaya for Brabham rounding out your top 10. In 11th, there's Cameron Brewster for Drake, alongside Adam Christopher for Quartermass in 12th. Bruno Reno for Grow in 13th, so didn't finish race 1, but came home a strong 13th in the Astra for Bruno. Then Ben Willis for Drake in 14th. Jordan Richardson for Vapor Shield in 15th. Matty Allington for YTF in the Ford in 16th. Alan Smith in Craven in the Cupra in 17th. Ty Cuthbert for Quartermass in 18th in the next Cupra, with Nathan Croak for Craven in his Cupra in 19th, with Paul Crawford rounding out the top 20 in the DCW Hyundai. 21st was Sam Dowman in the Vapor Shield Honda. Mitch Murray in the Calamity Racing. That's such a shame that his issues dropped him right at the back of the field. He was doing really well in those early stages. With Thiago Lopez in the Astra in 23rd for Grow. Jack London for Calamity in 24th. We lost in the course of the race Aaron Markham, Max Spooner and Ryan Elliott, 2 of the RSR BMWs falling foul of race number 2. Right, do we have a decision on how many... We do. Now how many of our top 12 are being reversed?
It's going to be 8. So that means that Jeffrey Fournier for Epic Racing will be our pole sitter, and then Dan Hurlock on the front row alongside him. It was a bad race too for Dan Hurlock, but he will have his chance at redemption because he's not going to have much ballast, and he's going to be on the front row with Matt Richards and Callum Wilson going to be on row 2. Then you're going to have Callum Cripps and Dan Kell on row 3, and of course your front 2 from the last race, Thomas O'Leary and Gianmarco Fiducci, rounding out the top 8 on the grid.
All right then. So as the session will transition into its warm-up phase with that, with the intention of getting that grid absolutely formed, and this is something that one of many things that R Factor does very, very well is these kinds of grid manipulations. Not quite what I mean, but you're able to set up random grids and what have you without having to make lots of interesting alterations. Let's have a quick look at tyre allocations then. So the those that will be running the soft tyres this time are Dan Hurlock. He'll be enjoying that from near the front row. We also have Paul Crawford. We have Jack London, Gianmarco Fiducci. It seems to be a common thing for him. Well, it's a common thing. He did it in the last race, and I seem to remember he went to do it in Donington when we went to have the season opener there. But as we said, that race unfortunately could not continue. So Jordan Richardson will be running the options this time alongside Bruno Reno, Thiago Lopez, and also we've got Callum Wilson. So it's almost been even splits. 8 drivers in the first race, 9 in the second, and 7 in the third race running their option tyres. So shall we have a think about the reverse grid? So reverse grids can be very divisive. So what are your thoughts on reverse grid races, John? I absolutely love them, both from a spectator and a driver standpoint. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely love them from both a spectator and a driver standpoint. Yeah, same as you. I think they just create so much fun. As a spectator, it's always great to see what I would say is an underdog story. You know, someone who was trying to get into that top 10 and then being able to sit on pole position, maybe a position they're not normally used to. And it always means that the drivers that are typically at the front of the field are going to have to fight their way through. So I just don't see a downside to it. Obviously, the argument can be that it's it's not a real result if you win a reverse grid race, or it's punishing success, all of these things. But over a championship, the best still rise to the top. We saw Fiducci last week finishing second, despite the reverse grid from his race win in race 2. So you still see the top drivers making their way through, but they have to work so much harder at it. It's more of a chance of an upset, seeing some other drivers getting some airtime at the front of the grid. So I absolutely love it personally, and I don't have any issues, especially when there's 3 races in each round. It just creates something different and exciting for the end of every broadcast. And normally at this point, the drivers are getting a bit frantic. They know the score, but the elbows are well and truly out. And we've, as me and you have experienced many times in the past, Chris, we often see fireworks in the first lap in these situations.
Yes, I like you say, John. I do understand the argument against arguments against reverse grid races. It puts slower drivers in a position where they're potentially in the way of faster drivers. But exactly as you say, the best will still work their way past. They're the best for a reason. It is not because they can't get past people.
And how do you learn? How do you learn without, if you're a slower driver, the best way to learn is to be thrown at the deep end, and then you can actually follow some of these quick guys as they get past you. You can learn to try and follow their lines and see what they do, and I just think it's a win-win.
Yeah. And generally, I like reverse grid races because I was never at the front. So,
it is worth pointing out, though, as well, in this championship, we're talking about all less experienced or slightly less quick drivers at the front. Don't get me wrong, if you finish in the top 12, or in this situation, the top 8 in this championship, you are an incredibly quick driver. Even the guys that are finishing in the top 20, I know how quick these drivers are. So at this level, there are no bad drivers that you will ever see appearing in a reverse grid. It's just those drivers that have that extra couple of tenths and the extra bit of experience that will be making their way through. But these guys know how to defend, they know how to race. So don't be surprised if someone towards the front of the grid picks up a win.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing that's easy to forget in particularly really big grids like this, where you can be finishing last and still be an exceedingly quick driver. When you're talking about the very best in any category, there has to be those that come first, there has to be those that come last. And it's often easy to overlook those that are maybe struggling towards the back on any given race, or even on any given series. They're still phenomenal drivers. These are not your average pick up and play public lobby kind of drivers. These guys put in many hours and have far more talent than I could ever hope for. Which is why I go for the commentary box. It's far safer for everybody concerned that I stay in this seat and not in the driver's seat. Although that's the thing, John. That's another question I was going to ask you. There are times, and just generally these kind of touring car events that make me, that's maybe give them that little itch to get the steering wheel out again and to give it a go. But time never really allows it. But there are times you think, I wouldn't mind giving this a try. Do you kind of get that sometimes when you're in the commentary box? You think, I wouldn't mind getting out there and getting stuck in.
For sure. It's both. I love taking part in these races, but I also just love the races themselves. And it's the reason I enjoy taking part of them is because I enjoy good battles and spending time chatting with friends and racing against friends. But equally, it's just as good to watch that and see it from the outside too. So I definitely get where you're coming from. But I've raced in the series for the last 2 years in a row, and it takes a heck of a lot of work and effort just to try and get yourself even just in the mix to be winning these races. Over the years in this championship, I put many hours into practicing for events, usually not quite enough or not as much as I planned to or should be. But you put in all the prep and you take part in the racing, and it's an intense night. It really is. You express, you leave everything out there on the circuit. It takes up a lot of energy, and obviously it doesn't always go your way either. But just that coming to the end of a race when you take the victory or have had a great battle and a good laugh, it's just a great feeling. It's very, very difficult to beat. So if you're not someone that gets too much racing under your belt, I can totally understand why you watch this and you just want, you'd be desperate to get behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think, I'd love to do it again. Don't get me wrong. I've never fell in out of love with sim racing or motor racing. I wouldn't be here if I had. But time and talent is not on my side these days. So, so knowing the amount of time and dedication it needs to be at very top level wasn't quite. I raced for fun, but there's that adrenaline though. That kind of not necessarily cutthroats, do or die kind of mentality. You don't really get that at this kind of level. You get the very disciplined, the very calculated moves going on. You just have to watch so many of these names to work out they've figured out what move they're going to do way before they've done it, as opposed to the kind of panic reflex that I would do, because like, oh my god, this has happened, what do I do? Throw the car in that direction and then I'm off into the wall. So it's what separates the good from the great, isn't it? It's knowing exactly what to do at any given moment in a split second.
Yeah, and TCUK is a great community. These guys know each other very, very well. They're very welcoming to new drivers coming through. But there's always an established core group that have been there since the start, and they race each other really well. They race each other with respect, and they know what happens. They know the score. And trust me, these races get highly intense at times. Drivers are pushing the limits and beyond. But generally speaking, it's kept incredibly clean as well. Kept under wraps by the stewards, and it's just a fantastic community to be a part of. These touring cars as well, they do require lots of practice, but once you get the hang of it, you've done many races around the same circuits, you don't have to do more than 30 or 40 laps to be right up there at the highest level if you've got that kind of talent. So what it does do is it just means that drivers can relax a little bit and have and just enjoy the night's racing, have a laugh. But I tell you what, the drivers that do put in those extra 20 or 30 laps of practice are the ones who are going to have that slight edge, and an edge is exactly what you need in TCUK, because no matter what you think something's going to happen, or no matter how you think a race is going to go, it never pans out as you expect.
We think people are hot just by racing. You imagine the VR users in this heat. That's there'll be several sweaty visors out there. But for the final time tonight, then the grid is formed. It's Fournier and Herlock on your front row. The green flag is raised. It is time once more to wind them up and to let them go. And is that a really good start from Matt Richards, or was that not such a great start from Fournier, as Herlock now cannons into the lead, but he has got the softer tyres. Has he run a little bit too wide? Almost manages to keep it on the black step. Oh, that is a spin as one of the Calamity cars has gone for a bit of a wander, did a full 360 and kept his foot in it. Very, very nicely done. Not quite sure which of the Calamity cars that is, but Dan Herlock wasting no time whatsoever. Oh, that's a sideways. That's one of the Vapor Shield cars that is going for a wander. I think that might be Jordan Richardson. It has not been his night in the Vapor Shield Honda. So it is, at the moment, it's Herlock from Richards from Fournier. Now it is Matt Richards has got up into second position, and that is Dan Kell in the lead of the Calamity number 89, is trying to fend his way past Callum Wilson.
Yeah, someone crashing off in the background as well. I believe that was Rado, who's had a bit of a nightmare this weekend too, as they now head down towards Club Chicane for the first time. And Herlock is in the same situation as he was in race 1, but he's got the soft tyre and he's gotten much less ballast than he did that time around. So I do think Herlock's going to do his best to run away at the front here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he manages it. But Richards is no mug in P2, that is for sure. Fournier off pole position, didn't get the best of launches, drops down to 3rd place, as you say. And he'll just be looking to hang on to the podium. He's got Callum Wilson on softs as well behind him in 4th, Dan Kell in 5th, and then O'Leary, Cripps and Shepherd rounding out your top 8 for the moment. A couple of incidents on that first lap in the background, but no crazy big pile-ups. I think drivers got very lucky in turn 1. That could have been a far worse incident.
Yeah, 100%. So then the field stand themselves. There is Chris Shepherd with Gianmarco Fiducci, who's lost a position off the start. That is highly unusual, and Fiducci is on that soft tyre as well. So that's someone exploring the limits of the track. I think that might be Cameron Brewster, potentially. That's one of the trade cars that was doing a bit of lawn mowing. So then right behind Fiducci, he gets his nose somewhat chopped off there by Richards. Sorry, that's Shepherd. That's trying to keep his position, and that is his teammate Fournier getting very quickly, coming down in towards Vale, and manages to keep his car on the straight. Now he's been wrong-footed though, and that is Callum Wilson through, and along with Dan Kell, making Fournier's day that little bit worse. My goodness me, that's 2 positions, is it? Well, he's got one of them back. That's a great exit from the Club Chicane. Very nicely done. Still side-by-sides going on. Well, Fournier can't go anywhere. He's very much boxed in now, having a go at Callum Wilson. He wants to get back up to that 3rd position. Is he going to lose a spot here to Dan Kell? Very opportunistic in the Ford Focus. Can't get it done. Not quite. That's on the grass. Oh no, that's both of them off. The Calamity Ford manages to return to the track without hitting anyone. Unfortunately, Fournier caught his teammate. Oh no, look at that. They're both facing the wrong way.
What a disaster. What a disaster. The pole sitter and his team just, a nightmare of a first few laps there. Fournier did well to keep and hold a 3rd place for as long as he did, but it went horribly wrong there. A bit of contact with Kell and off he went, and then Shepherd looks like he was the innocent victim in that situation. So yeah, nightmare for those guys. Meanwhile, we're looking at, I believe that's Tom O'Leary down the inside of Dan Kell, who did really well to recover his slide, to be fair. He was completely sideways on the grass. He got the foot in it, as Dan Kell does, and managed to hold on to it. We saw him drifting his way through turn 1 last time as well, through Abbey, in typical Dan Kell fashion. He drives a front-wheel drive car like it's a rear-wheel drive car. Just tips it in, gets properly sideways very often. But that incident's not going to help his tyres. We saw someone else sideways there. I believe that might have been his teammate, actually. Maybe Jack London in P12. But look at the Richards & Co cars. Line astern. It's Callum Wilson up in 3rd, who's got the softs on, so he should be able to just stretch a gap here. And his teammate Cripps will be, it's Cripps actually, and then O'Leary. So there's 3 of them in a row, I should say. So we were actually looking at Cripps and O'Leary there, not Wilson, who is running away at the front. So once again, the Richards & Co cars all in line, and then Matt Richards, of course, up there in P2, unable at the moment to keep with the mighty Dan Herlock, who leads this one.
Big defensive posture there from Tom O'Leary to keep Dan Kell behind. Then Gianmarco Fiducci just kind of biding his time. I think he's trying to keep his tyres in good order for a big attack later on, as O'Leary shuts the door on Dan Kell on the inside line coming into Vale. Now Club, it's the Ford that's slightly out of sync. He catches the apex a little bit hard, but Fiducci can't do anything about it, as the velocity car just remains where he is. Or does he? Or just no sooner do I say that, gets a good exit from Club and through into 6th for the Italian then. Just picking cars off. He knows he's got that tyre advantage and trying to maintain it as long as he can. Not by making lots of lockups or sliding the car around. He's just keeping those softer tyres in good order as much as he can. So that is Dan Kell knocked down into 7th, and that is Tom O'Leary, the Italian's next target.
Lucci on softs in your mirror is not what you want, but thankfully for Dan Kell, he didn't have him there for long. He will run away in front, and it's now Cedo Vire who will chase him instead. There's the 3 Richards & Co cars. There's Fiducci, and obviously, Fiducci's on full weight here as well as the soft, so you're thinking that's still not going to be easy for him at all, and it's not. But bear in mind, Fiduci's had pretty much full weight or near full weight every single race this season, other than the very first one. So you notice what the car handles like on this weight, and you can see them there going round the outside of one of the Richards & Co BMWs to break that train, and just like that, Fiduci's now up into P5. It's Thomas O'Leary he's done the move on there. Familiar rivals from the last race, of course. This time it's for P5, not for P1, and it's roll reversals on the tyres. So it'll be interesting to see how far Fiduci gets up here. Expect him to get past Cripps. Will he close down on Wilson, who's also on softs? We'll have to wait and see, but Herlock is continuing to run away at the front. I think the next battle at the front of the field we're going to see may well be Richards versus Wilson, but the gap is quite big at the moment, so yeah, maybe actually I'm looking at the gaps the wrong way around. I don't think that will be the next battle we see. You can see there the drag car getting all up over the curb. That looks like it's Ben Willis in P11, definitely exploring the track limits here at Silverstone, but Ben has been a regular driver in this championship for many years now, so great to see him right in the sharp end, giving it his all, and he's on the grass as he tries to pass Christopher, pushes him to the right hand side, and yeah, he's continuing to give it his all and continuing to explore the limits of Silverstone.
Oh, Adam Christopher, a little bit too robust there. You do need to give racing room. Oh, speaking of, Fiduci under pressure was he by Callum Cripps. He is indeed. So Fiduci has gained the fourth, but has either made a mistake or was relinquishing the position. He did not get a good against it. Oh, he's trying to keep Tom O'Leary behind. Well, when one Richards & Co car goes through, he's going to try and bring the next one, still bumping and banging all the way down towards Abbey. Struth alive. They just about managed to having a prevent themselves from having a spin. Fiduci was not really thinking about an outside manoeuvre going into village, but God, that is so much pressure he's trying to apply and fight off. Is the Veloci car. God, blimey, that is. It's one of these situations as a driver you really relish. You love being in the fights, but there are times when you just like, I just want to run off and have a simple race. Well, if that is the case, if you want to win it, certainly. As slightly further in the background behind Richardson, that is Jack London and Adam Christopher having their argument. Oh, that's Fiduci again, inside line of Stove for fourth against Callum Cripps. But again, this puts them in exactly the same position they were a lap ago. The Veloci car gets the overlap, gives the Richards & Co BMW a bit of a punch in the face, puts him a little bit wide, but the softer tyres coming good. But mind you, Callum Cripps tried to get the inside line in the exit of club, and that is fourth back in the hands of Veloci.
Yeah, Fiduci slightly forceful into the clutch chicane there. On the outside line, he was turning in a bit early and just giving Wilson Cripps the squeeze. But I have to say, the move into Stowe just showing his quality yet again. I mean, there was barely a gap there. There was just enough room for him to slide his BMW there. So not only did he find the gap and make the gap, he still managed to avoid hitting Cripps and keep the car on the inside line. It's just a remarkable demonstration of talent and skill here from Fiduci, continuing to show his class. He's been so good onto the hanger straight as well every single lap. So yeah, it's great to watch this in action, and the other drivers are going to learn a heck of a lot from it. That being said, Cripps, hugely experienced, hugely talented himself, and I'm sure he will be desperate to try and get the move back done on Fiduci. Of course, Fiduci has the soft tyres, and that just makes it very, very difficult for everyone else. You can see there Willis ahead of that's Brewster he's with, so I believe that's the two teammates, and they're battling, continuing to battle there with Christopher after his slightly questionable move earlier on the hanger straight. He's looking down the inside of Brewster. They're going to continue to be side by side, but Brewster holds onto the position. Cam Brewster, another really fast and clean driver that's always at the sharp end when he gets his qualifying right, and you can see there he's doing his best to fight with Christopher, but they're almost three wide there. Paul Crawford getting into the mix. That's what we want to see. Crawford on the option tyre. He's going to be down the inside into the first corner into Abbey. Can't quite get the move done on Adam Christopher there, but he's going to have the outside line, which becomes the inside towards the hairpin. He's not going to get it done on this occasion, though.
Struth, this is so amazing. We're already halfway through the race, and look at the pack that this group is in. Right behind Paul Crawford is Alan Smith and Mitch Marie as well as the quartermaster car Ty Cuthbert, which takes us down to 17th position. I'm
having the same issues. There's too much going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but look at this. I mean, there's so many kind of looks and defenses going on. It's impossible to call them all, which is a good problem for us to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem for us to have, absolutely. I think we can't stop talking, but it's not just because we normally can't stop talking, it's because the racing just won't stop happening. As you now see, Willis managing to gap, so the action's happening behind these guys, of course. There it is, it's Brewster from Christopher. Now Crawford's in the mix. Crawford on his options has got the grip out of the corner. He's going to head down the inside of Adam Christopher. They're going to leave each other lots of room. Christopher just running off wide to make sure they both get around safely. Not really gaining much of an advantage there, but it will be Paul Crawford on the inside that should have the line into Abbey. Makes it stick. Christopher sliding the rear end out of his car, and now he's under a lot of pressure from Smith behind. It's relentless stuff here in the middle of the pack. Crawford defends to the inside. Christopher to the outside once again, but we're going to see then space being left on the inside. A bit of a hip check there, and through goes Smith down the inside. Christopher's going to try and get it back. Marie is in the mix as well, and a late move there from the quartermass car. Is that Ty Cuthbert getting involved? It is, in the other Cooper, the other quartermass racing car. Superb stuff from Ty Cuthbert, sending it in there, and he's up into P16. I actually met Ty here at Silverstone a few years ago. He was doing an R-Factor 2 competition at the time. A young driver, young up-and-coming racing driver with a lot of talent. Big Checo Perez fan, and it's great to see him in this series fighting with these experienced drivers and showing what he's capable of. And yeah, this kid has got a very, very exciting future ahead of him, and he's getting right involved in the mix here in TCUK. It's great to see.
With you calling drivers kid, I feel even older. So thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Oh, this is a battle for second. This is Wilson and Richards. So fantastic effort here. Callum Wilson in the Richards & Co. 444 alongside, and slightly ahead for the moment, Matt Richards in the number 14. So these two having a great argument. Callum Wilson is on the option tyres, but that isn't preventing Matt Richards from having a right old go. There is Dan Hurlock. 5 seconds to good. That's what 5 seconds looks like along the hanger straight in these TCR cars. So is it going to stay that way? Well, judging by how the soft tyres have fallen away, you would argue not. But as Dan Hurlock isn't defending against anybody, realistically, he shouldn't be burning those tyres too hard. But again, these are racing drivers. Of course, they're going to push whenever they have the opportunity to. Cito Vire on the back of Dan Cal. This is a battle for 7th place. Right behind him is Jack London and Richardson as well. So Jordan Richardson watching on in the Vapor Shield Honda. So he's ready to pick up pieces. So he's inside the top 10 now, which at least if he was able to come away with the top 10 finish, that would somewhat smooth over what has been quite a rough weekend for that Vapor Shield car.
It certainly would, and it's always nice to end on a high, and that's what we'll be looking to do. Meanwhile, Vire looks to the outside there. He's not going to make anything happen here, but he's going to look for the undercut, as it were. Heads down to the inside. He's then going to get the better line, of course, through the left-hander, which gives him the better line onto the hanger straight. In fact, he's actually going to go for it. Sends it down the inside. There's contact. Vire's going to lose all of his momentum, and they're going to be 3 wide on the hanger straight. So this is going to be a big change of positions here. Through goes Richardson. Through goes London as well. Vire's going to pick up the slipstream, but that was a really costly mistake, and it was Vire being too aggressive, just going for a move too early. He didn't need to do it. He could have waited. Tell you what, though, he didn't need to wait for that one. Straight back down the inside. There's contact between the outside two. Great stuff into Stowe. They all get away with it. Vire almost gets the position back, but now it's going to be Jack London. No, it's London. Yeah, it's London down the inside. It's changed liveries, of course, for this season. Gets the move done. Sticks to the inside line through there, and London's back ahead. They're going to be side by side. They're going to continue to be side by side, and I'm just running out of words here because this won't end. This battle is great to watch, as we've seen all day. Into the inside this time goes Cito Vire, but he's going to have to pull back in, and it's now line astern for hopefully more than 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, that, like you say, John, that all started with one mistake, one outbreaking moment there from Cito Vire has absolutely ignited this battle for what is ultimately 8th position that Jack London currently has. A little bit behind his teammate of Dan Kell. Just under a second indeed between the two Calamity cars. The rest of the, or certainly the rest of the field ahead of them are kind of settled into their rhythms now, but they haven't. It's taken over half the race for that rhythm to establish itself. Other than these three, no one's told these guys that there's there is still quite a few racing laps to go, but they are just jockeying as if it's the last. Oh, that's someone kicking up a bit of dust. I think it was Brewster that was kicking up a bit of dust there. A little bit further up, Gianmarco Fiducci on the back of Richards now. So this is to get inside the podium spot. But again, Gianmarco Fiducci may well find that the tyre advantage has gone, and Matt Richards on the prime tyre may well have that grip advantage swing back to him, but that isn't stopping the Veloci Ace. Just wrong footing the number 14 car. Matt Richards, he knows that one was done, and again, the incredible talent and experience of Gianmarco Fiducci gets him up to 3rd.
Yeah, he's going to keep his podium streak alive here. Wilson obviously on the softs as well, so it's going to be harder to close that gap. Herlock's just checked out at the front, not super surprised. Richards, though, is going to come back at Fiducci, is he? He's down the inside, uses the push to pass, and he sends one down on the Italian. He's going to be a bit of contact, but nothing too beyond the limits there. Fiducci holds on, gives him it back, heading now down into the club chicane, so Richards not giving this one up. I do have a feeling inevitably that Fiduci's going to get this done, but Richards is going to try his best to keep it down the inside. There's contact, there's two-wheel action. Richards trying to save his tyres, but Fiduci finally gets the position done, and now will chase after Wilson in the BMW. But that's now 3.4 seconds with 3 laps to go. That ain't going to happen. I know Fiduci's incredible, but Wilson is as good as as good as he can be, as close to incredible as you can get without being Fiduci.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I can confirm those sausage curves are nasty. So that is not an unreasonable amount of two-wheeled action going on there. If anything, it probably would have been worse, because that sausage curve, particularly through Vale and Club, is absolutely horrendous, as we see Richardson having to go at Cedo Via for 9th position as the Honda gets the inside line over the Corolla. But can he get that move done? Not quite. He's going to have to bow out of that as the number 52 of Jordan Richardson. He's still, yeah, there we go. Oh, and that's trouble right behind him. 2 positions back. That's Willis that has sent one of, well, those things are polystyrene. So that's the bounciest polystyrene I've ever seen being sent into orbit. As we switch to the Honda, still in the tyre tracks of the Toyota. Right ahead of them is the calamity pair of Dan Kell and Jack London. So they are fighting for 7th place. And then ahead of them, you've got Cripps and O'Leary that are having their own internal civil war in the Richardson Co BMWs for 5th place. But Dan Herlock, we've really not seen him. He's established that gap and just maintained that grip advantage and let everybody else fight amongst themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Herlock doing what he did so many times last season and just being the dominating force here. It really obviously didn't help him that he had the issues in the last race, but it certainly helped his cause in this one, because it's just given him the space and the time to get out in front, get clear, and he's under absolutely no pressure whatsoever. We've seen so many bits of contact in this battle here. Richardson constantly nudging the back of Vire like an annoying child that's hungry. And, if you were to count how many little bits of contact we've seen today, there's not been that many big incidents between drivers, but there must be at least, 500 bits of contact when you consider there's 25, 26 cars, and they're all making about 8 to 10 bits of contact per race by the looks of it. So it's proper touring car action, proper door banging stuff, and it's not over yet. You can see there the second of the Richardson Co cars, that's O'Leary, our race 2 nearly winner, sliding his way out of the last section and on to lap 17. Not long to go now for these guys, so it's going to be all about if you're going to be willing to make those moves right at the end. Smith looking racy. I say that Smith is actually Cuthbert on the back of Smith, who's looking racy at the moment, getting a bit too much on the sausage curve there, losing a bit of momentum. That's going to hurt him, but 2 laps still to get this move done, so we'll keep one eye on that battle for P15, or P16 I should say. Back to the lead group with the Richardson Co cars. This is of course O'Leary, Cripps and Richards himself up in P4, and it looks like the BMWs have the pace over the Cupra on this occasion, so we could well see a change of position here. This is going to be very interesting.
With just over a lap remaining. Oh, you saw Callum Cripps thinking about it. He's committed, has he? Is that door open? Not quite. With Matt Richards only just managing to slam that door shut on the BMW. As they come through Vale and into Club once again. Once more, the BMW has a look on the inside line. Can't commit to it. His own teammate, Tom O'Leary, is threatening to dethrone Callum Cripps. But no, there's no team orders between these two at the moment. So final lap of this race, and what a night of racing it's been here in Silverstone.
It has been absolutely. O'Leary, the most recent addition to the Richardson Co team. Matt's been keen to pick up talented drivers, as we've seen over the years. That's how Callum Wilson ended up racing for him last season. He impressed in his first season with another team. He was snapped up by Matt Richards and Richardson Co, and now we're seeing the same thing this season with O'Leary. But it's actually his teammate Cripps who's making the move now on Matt Richards. They're going to be side by side. It's going to give O'Leary a great run though, Chris, so we could see 3 wide down the Haggard Straight here. Herlock, Wilson, Fiduci is dealt with at the top. It's all about this battle for 4th now. It's Cripps from Richards, it's Cripps from O'Leary. Richards drops down to 6th. Who's it going to be? I don't even know which one's which. They head into the corner and it's O'Leary down the inside, Cripps on the outside, and it's going to be O'Leary that gets the move done on both of them. Incredible stuff.
Oh, talk about well-timed attack, but it's not done yet. Here comes Matt Richards trying to get that 5th position from Callum Cripps. Can't do it. He's going to have to relent, but your winner for race number 3 is the number 1, not Dan Herlock. Callum Wilson comes home second. Fiducci, never far from the podium, secures that top spot. Then it's O'Leary. Great final lap manoeuvre to get through to 4th. Callum Cripps 5th, Matt Richards 6th. Then it's Dan Cal leading the Calamity Cars home. In 7th, Jack London 8th, Cedar Vire for Brabham in 9th, with Jacob Richardson rounding out your top 10. What a race!
Yeah, all 3 races producing action from start to finish. There wasn't a single lap of chill in any of those races, especially when you've got this many quick drivers across the field. You know, things will calm down for certain positions, but you'll always have another battle to fall back on. And that's something, as a commentator rather than a driver, you get to experience. Of course, you get to see the action throughout, and credit to the drivers there. You've got Paul Crawford there finishing 15th behind Marie, who finally gets a finish under his belt, of course. Then it's Smith, Cuthbert, Spooner for Quartermass in 18th, ahead of Lopez and Sam Dowman, who has spent a long time in the pit lane tonight, unfortunately, but he does get a top 20 finish simply by not having a DNF. Christopher, Croak, Shepherd, Allington and Markham all suffering a DNF in that final race, as did Reno, who retired on the opening lap. But what a night of racing, Chris. It's great to witness that, to be back in the box for TCUK, or to actually be in the box for the first time here. And just a great demonstration from the drivers at the top. Obviously, our reigning champion, Herlock, finally getting the victory. But he is going to be thinking, what on earth do I have to do to stop Fiducci? You know, Fiducci hasn't been off the podium all season. And when you consider the ballast, the tyres, the reverse grids, that, as I said earlier, it's not something that happens in TCUK. You don't just get a great result every single time. We've seen Richards and Herlock pick up multiple wins before, but nothing like we're seeing from Fiducci in these opening 2 rounds. So he set a precedent, and it's going to be the others that have to up their game.
Very much so. So here's the race replay then. So looking at the start for race 3, that was a very recalcitrant start from our pole sitter. Then Dan Herlock was just into struggled a little bit initially. Dan Herlock didn't need a second invitation to take the lead. Our leader was not to relinquish, and really wasn't challenged for. As then you got all the slidey ways going on from Matt Richards to try and slide his way through into second, because a couple of laps later there was just the move there was Fournier, just very bounced slightly off of Dan Kell, I think it was. Then it was just this bonkers group here on the 2 Richardson go-kart with Jeff Fournier and Dan Kell as well. So Dan Kell, that was where it went wrong for Fournier, who then suddenly, as he bounced back into the circuit, just caught Chris Shepherd completely unsighted there with one of the Quartermass cars behind him. Nothing he could do. There was Fiducci getting past Cal for what was a 6th at the time. The velocity car was just, as usual, unstoppable with his margins. There was where he was split the Richardson Co BMWs coming through Vale and into Club once more. But yeah, I fully agree with you, John. There must be everybody thinking, what on earth can I do to stop that velocity BMW?
You go into the season, you know, Fiduci's credentials. This is a guy who's been there and done it with the best, and you know, expect other than towards the front. But it's just the way he's coming in and just managing to string together every single race as strong as he is. And this move here, it's down his elbows, managed to find a gap where there wasn't one, and somehow avoid contact. It's just brilliant car control, and he just knows exactly how much grip he's got in a given load, which is such a big skill to have. He did turn a little bit early there on the Cripps, but nothing crazy. Again, it's hard, aggressive touring car driving. I'm not sure we'll see anything towards a penalty for that. We also saw great racing for the back. Fighting with Christopher as he heads down the inside there, and Adam Christopher would eventually relinquish that position to that Motorsport UK community stamp on the top right of your screen is thanks to Paul Crawford. So definitely check out the Motorsport UK esports stuff online and learning a bit more about it, because it's good to see the governing body of UK Motorsport getting involved in sim racing, and as you can see, getting involved in the ground level, because Paul Crawford is right in the mix of things today.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to talk about selling sim racing to the governing body of motorsport, this is a perfect way of doing it. Again, the driving standards were, by and large, absolutely superb. There's a great advert for Quartermass there as well, with a type of Cuthbert with the Go Bobby insignia on the car as well. He was Cedar Vire following his mistake, corner back from here, then trying to recreate 2 positions, got ahead of Jacob Richardson in the Vapor Shield Honda, who then had his tail nudged quite a few times.
Couldn't make quite up for
There was, which then gave a bit of an opening for Silverstone around the outside. Couldn't quite do it there, but this battle went on and on and on for a good several laps. Here was Fiducci again. This was on Matt Richards in the number 14 car. Again, this is vast experience. Wrong footing for Drake, number 14. Through he went. As you say, you never want to see that Veloci car in your mirrors at any given time, but there's a point in any in any move, you know it's done. It was Matt Richards getting the slipstream, but again, it was to relinquish the position slightly, literally a corner later, but he gave it a good go. You as a driver, you know who you're realistically against, but who wouldn't want to challenge someone like Gianmarco Fiducci?
Yeah, I mean, Matt Richards has been there before as well. He's also been here 2 years before. But he's got a lot of experience in the top level in a similar series to Fiducci. So these guys know each other well. They've raced against each other in these championships. And Richards equally as talented as Fiducci. But the likes of Dan Hurlock, I don't know how much racing he's done on the global scale, but I mean, this TCUK level, he's been absolutely smashing it these last few seasons and really proving how talented he is. I think if Dan Hurlock was to go and compete in some of the highest echelons of R-Factor 2 online racing, I think we'd see him do very well. Hopefully, if we are to ever see a return of the likes of the Virtual Le Mans series or the Virtual Le Mans 24 Hour, we'll see Dan Hurlock involved, because I think he would be a great asset for any of the major teams.
So then the results before Stewart's intervention of that third and final race of the night. Dan Hurlock for RSR taking the top spot. Callum Wilson for Ritters & Co. in second. Gianmarco Fiducci for Veloci in third. Tom O'Leary for Ritters & Co. in fourth. Callum Cripps completing the Ritters & Co. trifecta. Again, they've always been buzzing around well within the top 10 all night long. So superb result for the Ritters & Co. team. Callum finishes in fifth. Matt Richards for Drake in sixth place. And then a little bit further down, you see the other Drake cars. Ben Willis 11th. Cameron Brewster 12th. Jeff Fournier 13th. Mitch Murray 14th. Paul Crawford in 15th in the end. And then Alan Smith 16th. Ty Cuthbert 17th. Max Spooner 18th. Tiago Lopez 19th. And Sam Dowman rounding out the top 20. Those that didn't see the flag were Alan Christopher, Nathan Crowe, Chris Shepard, Matty Allington, Aaron Markham, and Bruno Reno. What a way to conclude tonight's festivities. It has been a superb night's racing. So then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to those that have been with us either live or post-event. Your company is always very, very welcome. Thank you to those that joined us in chat. It's always great to see your interaction along the way. Thank you very much, John Monroe, for joining me in the box here. It's been a huge pleasure to have you alongside with me, and very much look forward to doing it again very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's been thoroughly enjoyable as always. Big thank you to Ryan behind the scenes as well for all the work on production. And yeah, don't know if I'll be back in the box again this season, but either way, I'll be watching as an avid supporter, if not. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season and looking forward to seeing these drivers fighting it out again across some of Britain's best circuits.
Absolutely. So please join us in 2 weeks' time, where we will take to the track once again for round number 3 of what's shaping up to be a very thrilling championship. Until next time, thank you very much, and good night!